What's going on, guys? The moment you've all been waiting for. We're going to be talking about when to use different AI models in different contexts, when to use them within your automations, and why you should be using one model over another between different contexts. So I'm not going to waste any time. Let's jump right into it. As of October 11th, 2025, right now, these are the benchmarks with the exception of Claude Sonnet 4.5, which just came out. These are the benchmarks in artificial intelligence, and these are how they overall perform. So we can see that GPT-5 has the highest performance on the high level. On the medium level, we see it's just slightly under, and then we have Grok 4, GPT-03, O4 Mini, Qwen 3, GPT-5 on low, Claude 4 Sonnet, DeepSeek, Gemini 2.5, GPT OSS 12.0b or 120b on high, GLM 4.5, Llama, Nemo, Tron, GPT OSS 20b on high, Kimi K2, GPT 4.1, and GPT 5 minimal, Llama 4, and it goes down from there. So you can see just on an overall intelligence level, GPT 5 on high is performing the best. Now, if we were to look up how that compares to Sonnet 4.5, I think they go pretty hand in hand. Claude is doing a really good job with their models right now. So let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of each model. So if we take, hey guys, if you've been watching this and you found value from this video, I highly recommend checking out my community, Automation Academy. Inside, I teach you how to build complete AI automation systems from scratch, from AI voice agents to CRM integrations to workflow automation, the entire stack. You'll get access to the full course library, live support, a community of builders who are actually implementing this stuff, and weekly calls where we troubleshoot real problems together. The content you're watching is just one piece of the puzzle. Inside Automation Academy, you'll get the complete blueprint for starting your own agency or building the infrastructure to scale your business. If you're interested, link is in the description. And now back to the video. Look at ChatGPT in terms of personality. This is going to be balanced overall. It's going to be adaptive to whatever context that you give it, and also going to be very structured. So you've seen in previous videos where if I go in and I give a very general command, it's going to give a very structured, outlined response. That's very characteristic of ChatGPT. The strength of this is it can mimic different tones, it can follow complex constraints, and chain of reasoning steps work really well, as we saw in the quote generation automation that I showed you previously. The weaknesses are that offline mode may lack real-time data. So if you're not online, the data is limited up to 2023, but ChatGPT is still excelling in writing, in teaching, idea expansion, prompt design, and creative tasks. So if I need to get some data really quickly, a lot of times I'll just go straight to ChatGPT. I'll have it outline what I needed to do, and then I'll bring it over to Claude because Claude is more empathetic and more reasoned. It's better for creative tasks like writing. So Claude is very well at handling long context. So a lot of times I will upload many documents to it to give it that context and personality. But Claude does sometimes play it safe and avoids assumptions. So it really only acts within that context window and doesn't really stretch out and do anything really unique. So that is one drawback of Claude, but it is really good at deep analysis, summarizing research papers, and long prompt chains because of that large context window. Now, if you take a look at Gemini, Gemini is very analytical and data-driven. It's obviously integrated with Google search because Google creates Gemini, and it makes it ideal for live research. Now, if you have Google Chrome, a lot of times, I believe there's a new extension if I were to update my Chrome, which I need to do, but you can have it summarize entire web pages. You can actually type into the extension and ask questions on the web page. And it's cool because it's integrated directly into the web page. You could find things. So that is a cool feature if you do use Chrome with the Gemini extension. Now, the one thing with Gemini is the style is a bit less human. The output can feel a bit stiff, but it is good at real-time research, processing data, factual writing, and coding, and many times you will actually get the references when you are asking for something specific. So it'll reference research papers or websites when you're asking questions, which is cool. The same thing goes with Perplexity. Perplexity really excels in scanning the entire internet to find research on a specific topic that you're asking about. So you want to use this as your research assistant. It's going to give you instant citations and references, but the drawback here is it has a shorter context window, so it has a shorter memory. It struggles with continuity, but it's good for quick lookups, citations, summaries, and source gathering. Like if you're going to write a paper, use Perplexity first, and then you can use something like Claude to actually write the copy on the paper. Next, we have Copilot. And guys, I'm just hitting the main models right now. I didn't include Llama. I didn't include Quen. There's a lot that I left out because these are mainly what you're going to be using 99% of the time. So with Copilot, this kind of is essentially the same as ChatGPT, and it is built on top of the OpenAI models. But the nice thing with Copilot is it is integrated into the Microsoft ecosystem. So you can execute commands within different Office apps. So you could do Excel formulas, PowerPoint outlines, emails. You can connect it to Power Automate. Other models, of course, you can as well. But it's pretty native into the Microsoft ecosystem, which is really nice. The weakness is it's not very creative or conceptual. Again, it's going to have the same drawbacks as GPT, but it's nice that there is task automation within the Microsoft suite, and there's a lot of native integrations within Excel or Docs or whatever it is that you're using. Finally, we have Grok. Mainly, the best part about Grok is that it's integrated directly into Twitter. I like commenting and fact checking on things with Grok. It's witty, conversational, culture aware. A lot of times it's actually really funny, the responses that it'll give. It'll get live data from X, which is nice, but it does lack structured reasoning or long form writing ability. But it's good for trend monitoring, summarizing live conversations, and writing social commentary. So there are some use cases for it. Some people prefer to use Grok because of its personality, but for me, I pretty much just switch between ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity. Don't use Copilot too much, and I don't use Grok too much. But hey, it's up to you, and it really depends on your use case. So if we're looking at AI models and we're going to rank them by creativity and task automation, Grok is the most creative. It's going to generate your witty and social commentary. Then honestly, I'd probably switch these. I'd say Claude is a bit more creative. It's going to analyze anything that you need deeply and summarize the research, and it's super creative in writing copy. ChatGPT is going to mimic tones and expand on ideas. Now, when I found this graphic, I think the reason why ChatGPT is here is because it's really good at copying tonalities, and with referencing the context that you give it, it's really good at operating within that same context. Next, we have Gemini, and that's going to be really good at research. Same thing with Perplexity, providing references. And then Copilot, the reason why it is the most automated is because it's natively integrated into the Microsoft ecosystem. Now, in terms of the specifications, with GPT-5, we have a 128,000 token context length. With Claude 3.5, again, we're at 4.5 now, so I'm willing to bet it's larger, the 200,000 token limit. So this is the longest context window outside of Gemini 1.5, which has 1 million token context window. Perplexity AI is smaller, so you're going to have to take that into account. You can't load large files into it or write insanely long prompts. Same thing with Copilot, and same thing with Grok. So something to keep in mind, because it's going to hallucinate when you do give really long prompts, or you start prompting back and forth and have a really long conversation. It's going to forget things previously in the conversation. In terms of how up-to-date each of these models are, GPT-5 is insanely up-to-date because it has the live browsing. 4.5, Claude also does have that feature, so that's great. Same thing with Gemini and Perplexity. Copilot is high, and the same thing with Grok if it is on Twitter, getting that real-time data. So they're all pretty up-to-date. Now, if you were to use an older GPT model, like if you're going to do GPT 3.5, then we're looking at everything going up to 2023 and no data after that. So I don't really advise using anything earlier than 3.5 unless you are fine-tuning the model and you're optimizing for cost. So just to summarize, Claude would win for depth and context heavy tasks as well as writing. Gemini and Perplexity are really good for doing your research and getting fresh factual content. ChatGPT is the most flexible, number one for pretty much everything. And then Copilot and Grok are situational tools depending on the context of what you're doing, but it's great for quick business ops or trending content, or maybe you're already linked into the Microsoft ecosystem and you're worried about your data. Copilot is the way to go. And just to break down some of the use cases that each model are best for, ChatGPT is good for brainstorming ideas, writing, strategy design. Claude is, again, great for writing, document summarization, research analysis, anything where large documents are uploaded for. Gemini is great for live data research, fact-checking, market trend analysis. Perplexity is insanely good for getting quick citations and data-backed responses. Copilot, okay for writing emails. I'd say Claude is a bit better. Creating slides, Excel automation. Yeah, creating slides is great because it links directly into PowerPoint. And then Grok is good for social listening, cultural content, as well as creating live summaries as well. Now, I did do a quick little demo on creating a LinkedIn post on each of these models. So I just gave a very basic prompt and I said, draft a 100-word LinkedIn post for SaaS founders explaining how AI automation reduces support costs without losing the human touch. Give me a tone that's practical and slightly conversational. And basically, I plugged these into ChatGPT, to Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, and Grok, and these were the outputs that I got. You can see that GPT and Claude took a little bit more of a creative approach and they have strong hooks. They're more engaging. Then if we go down to Gemini, we already see the research-based responses within the hook of the LinkedIn post. Same thing with Perplexity. We even have the sources here from HubSpot in 2024. So really love that. And with Grok, this information is probably based on Twitter posts. So AI isn't killing customer support, it's saving it from burnout. To be honest, I don't love this response from Grok. I think these ones from ChatGPT and Claude are a bit better if I were to post it on my own LinkedIn. But pretty good responses from just this simple prompt here. And again, it really depends on what your use case is to decide your model. So step one is, what is your use case? Step two is put it in each of these models to see which has the most optimal output. And then step three is scaling it. So like, you're not just going to do one LinkedIn post, you're probably going to do 100. So scale it up and create all your LinkedIn posts, and then you can schedule them out and post them all. Whatever the task is, you can begin to scale it up once you've chosen the AI model that you want to use for that specific task. All right, that's all I got for you today. I do have one exercise for you. If you'd like to take it upon yourself, go ahead and hit the link below in the document. And then the exercise is researching this problem statement that we have here, and then determining the correct model as well as the correct output for this model based on the models that we discussed today. Awesome. Good luck on that, and I will see you in the next video.